There is a moment, quiet, ordinary, when a small light appears in your garden after dark. Not a lamp. Not a reflection. Something alive. Something that blinks once, twice, and then holds still, as if it is waiting for you to notice it. Maybe it happened the evening after the funeral. Maybe it was weeks later, on a night when the grief came back without warning, and you stepped outside because you needed air. And there it was. A firefly. Alone. In a place you had never seen one before. And something inside you went completely still. Welcome to the Beal Mystery. Today we are going to talk about something that millions of people have experienced, and almost nobody says out loud. A firefly appearing after a loss. Not a swarm, not a field full of them. One light, blinking slowly, close to you, at a moment when you needed something you could not name. We are going to look at what science says about this. And we are going to look at what something older than science says about it too. By the time you reach the end of this video, you will never see that light in the dark the same way again. I need to tell you now. Sign number 7 is the one that leaves people speechless. Stay with me all the way through. Sign 1. The firefly chose your garden, and that choice is not random. Let us start with the science, because the science is more remarkable than most people know. The firefly is not a fly. It is a beetle. A member of the family Lampyridae, one of approximately 2,000 species worldwide, and one of the only creatures on Earth that produces light through a biological process called bioluminescence. The light is not a byproduct. It is a language. Every flash, every pause, every pattern is a specific signal carrying specific meaning. But here is what most people do not know about where fireflies appear. Fireflies do not distribute themselves randomly across a landscape. Research on firefly habitat preferences, including studies conducted by the Firefly Atlas project at Tufts University, has found that fireflies return to the same locations year after year with remarkable consistency. They emerge from the same patches of ground, navigate to the same trees, flash in the same areas of a garden where previous generations lived and mated and died. If a firefly appears in your garden, it has reasons for being there that go back further than this summer. It may have hatched from eggs laid in your soil 2 years ago. It may be navigating toward a chemical signal left by its own ancestors in the leaf litter under your oldest tree. It did not arrive by accident. It came from somewhere specific inside the earth beneath your feet. And it came up on the night it was ready, not the night before, not the night after. The night it appeared was the only night it could have appeared. Sign 2. The light it carries is one of the rarest things in the natural world. Pay attention to this, because this is where the firefly separates itself from every other creature in your garden. Bioluminescence, the production of cold light by a living organism, is one of the most energetically efficient processes in biology. The firefly produces light with almost zero heat, converting chemical energy to visible light at an efficiency rate of nearly 100%. Human technology took until the development of LED lighting to approach anything close to this efficiency, and we are still not there. The light the firefly carries in its body is, in the most literal scientific sense, a near-perfect light. It wastes almost nothing. It loses almost nothing. It converts what it has entirely into something visible in the dark. Researchers studying bioluminescence at the molecular level have found that the enzyme responsible for firefly light, luciferase, is so extraordinarily precise in its function that it has become one of the most important tools in modern medical research. It is used to track cancer cells, to monitor disease progression, to illuminate processes inside living tissue that would otherwise be invisible. The firefly discovered this chemistry millions of years before we did. And it uses it not for medicine, not for technology, but to say one thing in the dark: I am here. Sign 3. Across cultures that never met, the firefly meant the same thing. This is the part of the Beal mystery that I find myself returning to again and again, because it does not have a clean explanation. In Japanese tradition, fireflies, known as hataru, have been associated with the souls of the dead for over 1,000 years. The association is not vague or peripheral. It is woven into literature, into poetry, into the Obon festival, the summer celebration in which the spirits of ancestors are believed to return to visit the living. Fireflies appear during Obon. Their light is understood, in this tradition, as the light of someone who loved you, finding its way back. In Slavic folk tradition, including Ukrainian, Polish, and Czech heritage, the firefly was associated with the spirits of the restless dead, souls that had not yet completed their journey, returning briefly to the world of the living as small wandering lights. The word for firefly in several Slavic languages carries within it older roots connected to fire, to spirit, to the light that does not burn. In the indigenous traditions of the Cherokee people of North America, fireflies were understood as the sparks of ancestors, the light of those who had passed on, visible for a brief season before returning to the dark. 3 traditions. 3 continents. No contact between them. The same understanding. When completely separate human cultures, with no shared history, no shared language, no shared religion, arrive independently at the same symbolic meaning for the same creature, something is worth asking. Did they all imagine it? Or did they all see the same thing? Sign 4. The firefly appears at the exact border between day and night. This detail is reported so consistently in accounts of meaningful firefly encounters that I want to stop on it. The firefly does not appear at noon. It does not appear at midnight. It appears at dusk, in the narrow window between the end of day and the beginning of dark, in exactly the same transitional moment that has been understood across human cultures as the time when the boundary between worlds is thinnest. Entomologists who study firefly emergence timing have documented that most species begin their flash activity within a very specific window after sunset, triggered by a precise threshold of ambient light. The firefly is not approximating. It is reading the quality of the sky with photoreceptors we are still working to fully understand, and it emerges at the exact moment those receptors tell it the conditions are right. That moment is dusk. The in-between. The time that is neither day nor night, neither here nor there, neither this world nor the next. The firefly has been living at that border, appearing at that border, for 100 million years. Long before there were humans to watch it. Long before anyone decided what it meant. Sign 5. Its light blinks in a pattern, and the pattern is a conversation. Stay with me here, because this is where the science becomes genuinely strange. Every firefly species has a unique flash pattern. Not just a general pattern, a specific, species-distinct code. The duration of the flash, the interval between flashes, the number of flashes in a sequence, the angle of flight during flashing, all of these are variables that combine into a signal as specific as a fingerprint. Researchers at the University of Connecticut studying firefly communication have documented that fireflies can distinguish their own species' signal from closely related species' signals with extraordinary accuracy, even in environments where multiple species are flashing simultaneously. They are reading a specific light in a field of lights and responding only to the one that speaks their language. When a single firefly appears in your garden and blinks slowly, alone, close to you, it is not broadcasting randomly. It is signaling. Whether or not you are the intended recipient of that signal is a question science cannot answer. But that there is a signal, that the light means something specific to the creature producing it, that is not in doubt. A light that means something, appearing alone, in the dark, at the moment you needed it most. Sign 6. The firefly lives most of its life in darkness, and the light lasts only days. This fact alone has stayed with more people than almost anything else in this video. The firefly spends the vast majority of its life underground or in leaf litter, as a larva, in darkness, for 1 to 2 years depending on the species. It does not flash during this time. It does not signal. It waits and feeds and grows in complete invisibility. And then, for a period of approximately 2 to 4 weeks in summer, it emerges. It climbs to the surface. It opens its wings. And it shines. 2 to 4 weeks. Out of a life that spans 2 years. The light you see in your garden on a summer evening represents less than 5% of that creature's entire existence. Everything else is darkness and waiting in preparation for a moment of light so brief that if you are not outside, if you are not paying attention, you will miss it entirely. For someone who has lost a person they loved, this fact lands in a specific place. The brevity of the light is not a tragedy. It is the point. Something that spent almost its entire existence in darkness chose, for the few weeks it had, to shine, to be visible, to signal across the dark to anyone watching. Sign 7. The firefly appeared after someone left, and you know exactly when. This is the one I have been building toward. And I want to be careful here, the way I always try to be careful on this channel, because what I am about to tell you sits at the edge of what can be proven and what can only be felt. Science does not have a mechanism for this. There is no study at any university that can explain why a firefly appeared in the garden of a woman in rural Poland on the evening her mother was buried, in a garden where no firefly had been seen in years. There is no paper that accounts for why a man in Ohio stepped outside on the first anniversary of his son's death and found a single firefly blinking slowly near the chair where they used to sit together in the evenings. These things are not in any scientific literature, but they are in the quiet testimonies of ordinary people, spoken carefully, sometimes with tears, sometimes with a certainty that does not need to be defended because it is not a belief they chose. It is something they witnessed. In every tradition that has connected the firefly to the souls of the dead, the understanding is not that the firefly is the person. It is that the firefly carries something. A signal. A presence. The biological equivalent of a hand on your shoulder in the dark saying, "I am still here. I see you. You are not alone." I cannot tell you whether that is true. I can tell you that the firefly produces a near-perfect light from almost nothing, that it emerges at the border between worlds, that it appears for only a few weeks out of years of darkness, that it has been understood as a messenger across every culture that ever watched it carefully enough. And I can tell you this. If you stepped outside on a hard evening and a small light appeared in your garden, and something in you went completely still, you were not being foolish. You were not imagining it. You were a person who loved someone, paying attention to the world with your whole heart, in the way that the people we lose always hoped we would. If you want fireflies to return to your garden, they need 3 things: long grass or leaf litter where larvae can develop undisturbed, no pesticides in the soil, and darkness. The single greatest thing you can do for a firefly is turn off your garden light after midnight, or replace it with a warm amber bulb. Fireflies navigating in a garden flooded with white light cannot find each other, cannot complete their mating flash, cannot continue. The light you turn off is the darkness they need to shine in. Go outside this summer at dusk. Not with your phone. Not with a task. Stand in your garden as the sky changes, and wait for the first light to appear. When it does, watch where it goes. Watch how long it stays. Watch whether it comes back to the same place. And if it does, if a single light blinks slowly in the part of your garden where something of there still is, where you still go sometimes without meaning to, let yourself receive it. Not as proof. Not as something you have to explain. As a light in the dark, which is sometimes exactly what it is, and sometimes exactly what you needed. Tell me in the comments. Have you ever seen a firefly appear at a moment that felt like more than coincidence? Where were you? What had just happened? Tell me the specifics, the evening, the place, the person you were thinking of. Every account matters. Every light in the dark deserves to be witnessed twice. If this video reached you at the right moment, share it with someone who is going through a loss and might need to hear that the dark is not as empty as it feels. I will see you in the next mystery. The Beal Mystery.